start with my focus or my theme for the evening, my focus move for the tip, and I do my singing call first to get everything written around it. And then if I do modules, I prepare that, I write them based on my singing call. That way I've got a good solid singing call module with a focus movement, and I can create all my modules for that tip around it. So this is where I'm taking, it's just that next step. So let's, whoops, why have I got square view up there? I should have this up there, and can you see my screen? No, the PowerPoint presentation's up?
Not yet.
Nope.
Okay, hang on. Something's happening here. Try this again.
There you go.
Now it is.
I got to share the screen instead of the presentation, apparently. Okay. So where are we here? Okay, so first what we're going to, very quick synopsis of the singing call and what's needed for preparation. And the reason for this is if you don't fully understand how a singing call works, it's very, very difficult to write choreography for a singing call, especially if you don't really fully know what it is you're actually looking at in the structures. So we're going to start with a very, very basic anatomy of a singing call, okay? And a singing call is something, it's from the heart because it is that, it's that delivery. Singing calls to me are very important. They're a key part of a square dance tip at all levels, okay? Now, a lot of people argue that, at least up to A1. After that, I don't call above A1, so that's the choices, and they're going to vary from club to club, to caller, where many clubs don't even worry about singing calls, and at challenge clubs, you probably very rarely hear a singing call in some places. But at that level of dancing, what they're dancing for is the mental puzzle enjoyment rather than the enjoyment of the dance. And that's perfectly fine. That's a whole different type of square dancing, and it's perfectly fine to do that. I like to dance for the enjoyment of the dance, and for me, the singing call is a fundamental key part of that enjoyment. So singing calls start, or they usually should start, right at the beginner lessons, and that's carried through all the subsequent levels. So your very first night, when you're introducing square dance people, you're doing singing calls, and we teach this. It's highly unlikely that any caller today that does a class or does an introduction to square dancing or a one-night stand uses only the singing call figure that comes with the music, very especially early on. And for that reason, it's necessary to be able to change the figures or modify the figures or write new and appropriate figures for the music that you use. I mean, if you've got let's say you're starting an SSD club and you've got 20 new people have walked in the door, and you pull up a song and the lyrics on them got, you know, touch a quarter, scoot back, relay the deucey, you're not going to use it. You're going to modify it. Well, that principle applies to everything that you're going to be doing. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Singing calls are also used as a relaxation reward, actually, to contrast that mental challenge of the patter and to give that successful and enjoyable closure to that challenge of the tip as a whole. And when you take that closure away, you leave a gap of expectation that when it's unfulfilled, it creates a sense of disappointment. So in my opinion, and it's my opinion, singing calls are a key and a crucial part of square dancing, and taking them away is just wrong. So picture this for a minute. Everybody just close your eyes for a second and just think about this. Dum da dum da 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 dum da dum da dum da da dum da dum da dum da 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 dum. Or how about this? A, B, C, D, E, F. Or how about this? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. See what I mean? Now, while that may be humorous, think how we teach our dancers expectation at the beginning. We give them that reward at the end. What we do when we start taking those singing calls away is we're taking away closure, and they want closure. Unfinished work leaves that hole that ceases to be funny after a while. So to understand this, what you have to do is you have to understand what is a tip. Now, normal square dance tips are comprised of two parts, of course, and we all know that. You've got your patter call and you've got your singing call. That's what the patter, where the caller gives calls without singing, and the singing call, which is that song that's remixed to fit into a square dance. The reason that it's there, first off, is sociability. And it's in the singing call that dancers execute a sequence of calls or the figure that then take their corner dancer as their new partner. We're mixing and matching. That's that sociability interaction. It's safe, it's fun, it's there. You've changed the partner, all of this other kind of stuff. And you're going to get back with your original. Square dancing is a social activity, and taking a new girl home with you at each figure is part of that social reward. And the culmination, of course, at the final reward is getting back home with your original partner. Singing calls are also, compared to pattern calls, very highly structured, and they follow that same highly structured pattern generally, consisting of 7 parts. You've got your opener, for instance, 4 ladies promenade, swing your partner, join hands, circle left, Alaman left, weave the ring, swing the partner, promenade, blah, 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 16 beat tag, 64 beats, and you're home ready to go. Heads, do something, swing your corner, promenade. Side, do the same thing, swing your corner, promenade. It doesn't always have to be a swing the corner. We'll get into that. You've got your middle break. Then you got figure 3 and 4. Whoops, what happened there? Figure 3 and 4 that do the same thing. And then you've got your closer. And your closer and your opener are usually tied together, or your closer is going to be a surprise. Your closer could be a grand square, and your opener and break are going to be tied together. Those are the kinds of things that happen. But the structure does not change very much from that. And once you understand that, writing singing calls becomes so much easier. So let's talk about what is a tip. We're going to continue this. When we talk about that, we've got to talk about sequencing. Now, singing calls are meant to be choreographically relaxing. They're not meant, or at least usually, not meant to have anything new and anything really overly challenging that's new in the material and the movements that you're going to be calling. Many times, the figures are going to repeat. For me personally, I prefer 1 figure per singing call. When I'm doing a workshop, I'm doing an open dance, something like that, the dancer can relax to, and I've got to focus. Every now and then I might do 2 figures to a singing call, but those figures are going to be closely related. As an example, if I do head square through, do-si-do, swing through, boys run, tag the line, cloverleaf, girls square through, I might do a second figure, which would be head square through, make an ocean wave, ladies trade, ladies run, tag the line, cloverleaf, boys square through 3, swing, something like that. They're very closely related, but just feels a little different. That's about as far as I'll go with 2 different figures. Doing it this way, the dancers get time to relax and enjoy the success of their pattern work. And they also get time to take that time and physically and mentally enjoy the song, which brings us to time itself. When because the structure is rigid of 7 64 beat phrases, what you want to do is you want to use that full allocation of the time that's allowed for the dance, even if the dancers rush through it. If they do their grand square, like let's say you're in Texas and side face grand square, 12 beats later, they're finished, but you still got, the rest of that 32 beat phrase, use that 32 beats and finish the grand square. Because even if there's only 1 dancer that's doing it properly, let them do it properly. Your other dancers are going to adjust to that. Whoops, what happened there? Okay. So if a head square through, now we all know that a square through is 10 beats, but if you're starting from a static square, it's 12 beats. So give 12 beats. You've got to notice the strict structure of the singing call. Each section, 64 beats of music, usually 8 measures of 8 beats. The music and the caller make it clear when each section starts, at the break, when it finishes, and at that break, each dancer should have his or her original opposite as their partner. That's the halfway point. That's the measure that all the dancers are used to. That's what we've introduced right from the beginning. It's familiar to them. It's comfortable for them. They know they're doing it right. They feel rewarded. Now with this, if you were here earlier, you heard Bob and I talking about some things to consider when you're at dances. And some of those considerations are, what's the reason for the dance? Is it an event? Is it a theme? Is it a club workshop? There's hundreds of reasons to have a dance. Each one of those reasons is a consideration, and each one of them may have a slightly different approach to programming for the evening and for programming your singing call structures. You have to take them into account. Okay, but there's other considerations. So we'll look at those quickly, and then 4 guidelines that are going to make this successful for you. Let's say, for example, you're doing a new dancer class or you're on night 3 of an SSD club, or if you're following a teaching list in an A1 class, or any kind of those situations. Well, you have specific limitations on the choreography you can call. So that's a consideration. I can't use this movement, or I have to do that, or I can only use these movements. If you're doing a DBD workshop for mainstream, you may have the full mainstream program, but your singing call must have a choreographic focus to tie it to the figure in your patter call. That's a consideration because you want to use that DBD. And a lot of singing calls are not written for DBD material. If you're doing a festival, then your calling needs to be lively and up tempo with lots of reward and lots of song candy. Okay, it needs to be danceable, different without being difficult, and fun, because that's what the dancers are going to remember at a festival. It's the memory of each successful dance that they do, each successful tip, and that memory is the singing call. And that song is the enjoyment of success. It's not the music. The music is that one little tie, but what they remember and why it stays a memory is the enjoyment of success, and that comes from the singing call. I'll challenge you, unless you're at mental jigsaw puzzle choreography and dancers at that level, ask them what the choreography was, the pattern, then ask them what singing call you did. And if it's a good tip, they'll be able to tell you what singing call they did. They may not be able to tell you what choreography you did. So here's 4 simple guidelines. 1, try to use full square choreography, not box choreography. Now, there's nothing wrong with using box choreography, just not all the time. And by a box choreography, I mean, if you call every tip head square through, there's your box of 4, and those dancers stay in that group of 4 dancers all the time. You're just doing 2 couple dancing or isolated sight all the time. You're doing box choreography. It quickly feels like the dancers are being shoved into a little box and never getting to dance with the whole square. Okay, so use full square choreography. Guideline 2, plan to meet the corners past the home position or at the home position to avoid short stop promenades at home. Okay, plan your choreography. There's 4 places that you want to call a promenade from ideally. That's the physical at-home footprint. So if you had the head step in and face your corner, that's your swing your corner promenade if you're going to do a swing. You don't want to have that box the mat and then call a swing your corner. You don't want to have them over in the left-hand quadrant where their corner couple is. You want them at home or on the right-hand quadrant. Those 4 positions are your ideal positions. But with that, there's a few other things that you have to think about, and we'll get to those in a minute. Okay. If you're using the boys' left box, the girl, or if you're a lady caller, you're using the girl's right box, make sure it's from that standard corner box area. You may have to specify sometimes full promenade for many of the advanced and challenged dancers still. So because everybody else wants that reward. And if you've got a big event, let's keep our fingers crossed, they'll come back, and you've got a bunch of advanced dancers or challenged dancers down in your mainstream hall, there's nothing worse than you get ready, you do your swing, you get ready to promenade, and that couple stop right in front of you at home because they don't want to promenade. And they go, oh, yeah, that's fun. Well, it's fun for them because they're there for the mental thing, but it's not so much fun for somebody that's never been exposed to that. Guideline 3, do not always end each tip or each figure with a swing. Today, like me, I love a swing, but not everybody does. And today, many dancers don't like them, don't do them. And it gets really, really annoying, like I said, for new dancers. If the people in front of them don't swing, they just stop, and then they stop at home, and they don't swing and they don't promenade. It's really, really annoying. It throws the timing off of the whole square, and it throws the flow off by not swinging. So what you want to do is you want to find that happy medium, and many of your figures in a want to end up in a promenade without a swing. So try to aim for about 50% or less that will end in a swing and promenade, or more than 50% of your figures should end in a promenade getting there somewhere. And the last one, each figure should have at least one interesting idea. We've talked about this in programming. We've talked about this in writing your tips and everything else. Generally, this is the focus movement or the idea that ties the pattern and the singing call together. It can be a movement, it can be an idea, it can be a routine. And then you can have a secondary tie, which could be the theme of the evening. It could be pirates. It could be, like we said last week, the moon, or it could be a movement, which is your choreographic theme for the evening. And then you've got sub-themes, a second movement that's going, and we'll look at an example of that because that's what we were asked. Okay. If you have that and you have these 4 things in your mind, it makes it so much easier to develop your singing call figure. And it also makes it easy to develop your program for the evening. Now, there's a really good handout from Hal Barnes on this very subject that's definitely worth a read. And it'll be attached to the notes. So if you go to the OC Callers website, when it's done, Mark will get it put up there once the sessions are over. Okay, so we're talking about the anatomy of a singing call. When we usually talk about anatomy, what we're talking about is content. Now, it's important to consider content for variety in a singing call. And there's 4 parts to consider. The first one is the get in. Okay. You do not want to start every singing call the same. Okay. You know, there's so much more than just heads square through or heads promenade. Okay. Mix up your openings for variety, but also mix them up for placement. Work the square in your setup. Okay. Have different formation setups to play with. You know, you can do a heads square through. That'll get you to a corner box. Heads lead to the right. That'll get you a lead to the right box. Heads lead to the right, circle to a line. That'll get you to a partner line. Heads pass the ocean, extend. That's a right-hand box out of sequence in an ocean wave. Or heads promenade half, pass the ocean, extend. That's a corner box. Well, I've used the promenade and I've done that. But if I get that kind of a mix of a get-in, it doesn't feel like they're doing the same thing. It doesn't feel like they're in that box all the time. And it feels like they're using the whole square. And then the dancer, you're going to see big smiles come across their face rather than every tip starting heads square through or heads touch a quarter, boys run. It's going to make a difference. The second one, on the screen, you see how many people think that they would do that in a tip? Call that many promenades in a tip. Anybody? I can't see you, so you're going to have to speak up.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I put this up once and then it was really reinforced, but a lot of people say, no, I'd never call that many promenades. But think about this. This swinging promenade in your opener. Heads promenade halfway, promenade with the end of that figure. Heads promenade halfway, promenade with the end of that figure. Promenade at the end of the middle break. Sides promenade halfway, end with a promenade home. Sides promenade halfway, end with a promenade home. Everybody ends with a promenade. We have all done it. Okay. It was really driven home at one of the dances here that was pointed out that one of the callers was actually calling, writing down, and every single tip over the evening, I think bar 1, started with a promenade. Well, that right there, if you do the math, that's what? 144 beats in promenades alone. That's just over 30% of your call, of your singing call is taken up with promenades. 1/3 of your dance is promenades. That's it, your whole evening. Okay. People don't want to do that. Okay. That said, most singing calls we do are going to work from those fixed points. Your fixed points. And you notice I had your highlighted there. These are the ones that you as a caller are comfortable with. Don't worry about what, you know, Bob Elling that's been calling for 50 years can set up a fixed point from any kind of formation and situation and get you there on the floor. If you're comfortable with partner lines and corner boxes, find 2 or 3 different ways to get to partner lines and corner boxes. If you're happy with an RBO or a cross the street box, then find a way to get that. If you recognize that, if you're not comfortable setting up a lead right box, then just do lead right circle to a line and work from the partner line box. Okay. But if you're comfortable with it, find different ways to get there to enter into the choreographic flow. These are your openers. And the idea is to use the whole square, not just the box. The next part we look at is the body. Okay. You want good flow and you want movement through the body or the meat of the figure. And ideally, and we've talked about this, if you've got a focus movement that's fairly easy, you can put it in either the opener or the body. You know, if your dancer, and by easy, I mean your dancers are comfortable, you're confident they can dance it without a problem. Okay. You can also use the body to set up a theme movement to get you to that get out, you know, that short, pithy get out. Such as, for instance, if you've got 8-chain-4 spin chain through, you could do something, set it up so they can do a spin chain through right into that, you know, ends turn around and promenade, or what have you, or the 8-chain-4 right into your corner swing promenade. You can put that meat focus in the middle, leading you to that kind of a get out. So that's when the dancers are comfortable with it. Okay. The third part is the get out. You want your get out to be the success factor of the song leading into that promenade. And remember what I said? It does not always have to be a swing. And in many cases, and in my opinion, in most cases, it's actually better to have something that blends into a promenade, such as chain down the line, keeper, promenade, couple circulate, keep going, promenade, star through and promenade, courtesy turn and promenade, wheel around and promenade, cast right or cast left 3/4, depending on where you're going, and promenade. Those kinds of things add that little bit of variety. They take away that swing. And as Yolanda was saying earlier, she's got a group that doesn't want, they only want to swing with their partner. So she does, everything resolves back. There's no transition. Well, you can use stuff like this, have corner progression and not use a swing. It's easy enough to do it. If instead of in your middle break, you just do a do-si-do or a turn your partner right, Alaman left, come back and promenade. You don't have to use the swing. You can fill it in with other stuff. Now, this is where I diverge a little bit from other callers. A get out to me is not an ending. A get out is the termination of a choreographic routine that leads to success. The ending is normally that 16-beat tagline on the figure. You know, you've got to judge your singing call figures accordingly. If you want to time them out, think of it from the man or the lady's position, if you're a lady caller, that where you're setting it and where you're setting your key person to watch from. So if you're getting them back to that home position, such as the position for the swing is head, step in, face your corner, if that's where they're going to swing from, you want to allow 6 beats for the swing and 16 beats for the promenade. Now, I know that a swing is 4 to 8 beats usually, depending on where you are. So find that medium. If it's a 4-beat swing, allow 6. Give them that extra time. And if that's the case, well, then your figure, the meat of your choreography, is going to be 42 beats long. So judge your choreography accordingly. If you're setting it up in the right-hand quadrant, again, allow 6 beats for the swing, and you've got 12 beats for the promenade. So that gives you 48 beats for the figure. If there's no swing, then you always try to allow 16 beats for the promenade, okay? And you adjust your choreography accordingly to get there. Now, when you do that, you're going to structure your figure so you can deliver that choreographic command and always give that full tagline of the song to the dancers. So if your choreography, for example, ends in spin chain through, girls circulate twice, swing and promenade. Let's just say that's the ending of this particular one you're doing. Well, the promenade could be stated early, stacked, you know, spin chain through, girls circulate twice. When you get there, swing your corner and promenade. Okay, they're a couple of beats ahead. They're doing the swing. That gives you the 16 beats. They're still dancing with the beat of music, but you get the full 16 beats of that tagline and lyric to give to the dancers. In an ideal situation, each figure is going to blend into the next without a pause this way. And so if your opening figure, let's just say, is head square through, they're going to be coming out of that promenade, head square through. They're still in that promenade, just starting to turn in, and they keep moving. Okay, it's not a stop at home. It's not, you know, a stop and swing and all that other kind of stuff. Sometimes you have to build that in, sometimes you don't. But ideally, you want them to keep moving. So at least 2 couples are constantly moving. And they should be in motion from the promenade. That way they're already going to be likely at home, but allow the time needed in your choreography for that kind of a structure. Okay, each movement should move, or each figure should move smoothly into the next figure. Okay, so let's look at a scenario. So I'm going to use one of my old clubs, the Spin Chainers. Okay, the Spin Chainers was a caller run club, then an executive run club. It was handed over to me. It had a Monday night group, which was your new dancer class. So it was the basic through mainstream class. Each dance evening was 2.5 hours long. the club decided that that this coming Monday is going to be a party night. Okay. Now the Spin Chainers also had a Wednesday night group, which is the full mainstream graduating class. They danced 2 years at mainstream. And the Spin Chainers also had a Friday night class or a Thursday night class, which was a plus/A1 club. So that's the Spin Chainers. And they want to have a big night. Now there's also, I know there's 2 squares visiting from another club, which dances full mainstream and plus. Okay. And the reason they're coming to visit is because their caller is away. Hence, they're going to use this night as a visit. So they've contacted the executive. I know these dancers. I know the caller is away. Overall, I know that the dancing level is good. I also know that last week we taught Dixie style to an ocean wave from a standard position. It went really, really well. They picked it up really quickly. They danced it really well. So I want that to be the theme of the evening. Dixie style to a wave is going to be my theme. Okay, it's not going to be my focus for each tip, but it's going to be the theme for the evening. Now, the club, the Spin Chainers, they had this policy, and I fully agree with it. And I know it's going to change everywhere. But unless the night is actually split physically into club nights, like tip for tip or mainstream at the beginning and plus at the end, you know, first hours, mainstream, whatever, like that, there's one level of dancing, and that is everybody can dance. So whatever the lowest level of the floor is, that's what everybody does. So let's look at this whole thing using that concept. Our theme is Dixie style to a wave. So I want to make sure that I try and use Dixie style to a wave in my pattern, but I also need to review the movements that they've done because it is a class. So I'm going to pick a different focus movement from each tip. So let's just say circulate from ocean waves. We'll have the center start swing through. So it'd be a left swing through or a right swing through, depending on which wave we're in. Cross run and cross fold, flutter wheel and reverse flutter wheel, walk and dodge. I want to do some on the third hand stuff. A clover leaf, cast off 3/4, and I want to keep it all pretty standard, but different, not difficult. Now, I've said all those because I know I like to do 10 tips in an evening. The dance level is class level, and I'm following the teaching form from Collar Lab, just as an example. I don't always. So I taught Dixie style last week. That means that I do not have spin chain through. I do not have tag the line or any of the family. I don't have scoot back, and I don't have recycle. So those are my restrictions. Those are, remember, I talked about considerations. So as a new caller, I'm going to go through all my music, and I say, okay, I'm going to start picking out records that have good choreography in it. And I look at Dixie style. I've got 4 records that have Dixie style. Unfortunately, 3 of them have either recycle, 2 of them have a scoot back, and I've only got 1 usable figure. Head, square through, swing through, boys run, bend the line, reverse flutter wheel, Dixie style, boys cross fold, swing your corner, and promenade. And for those of you that recognize it, you probably recognize that as the pat figure off the song Ferry Across the Mersey. Okay. This puts my swing in the home position, 42 beats, leaves me 6 for the promenades, or 6 for the swing, 16 for the promenade, 64 beats, beautiful flowing thing. Paul Brister did a fantastic job on it. But I plan to use that as my power song finish to the evening. So I'll leave everything going on the last tip. Now, I also know you cannot do this over and over again. So what do? Well, tip 1, I know is going to be a welcome tip. So I want to have pick up good singing call and just a couple of simple Dixie style movements to the wave in my pattern. And I'll even intentionally start with a program opener, with a promenade opener in my singing call or something like that to get comfort, or whatever it is I'm going to do. So I might start with a figure that looks like this. Let's see if this works. Bang. Okay. So we'll do head, star through, pass through, circle to a line, go forward and back. I put that in there to allow the dancer to refresh, right and left through, Dixie style, boys trade, balance. I put that in there as well. Swing through, girls run, and promenade. Look where I'm promenading from. Okay, I'm not here. They have to do a promenade if they want to get back home because they're not going to come. I didn't, you know, it's there. There's no swing. But now I can judge the dancers. It's pretty straight flow, forward flowing. It's 48 beats of music. Bottom right-hand quadrant, they can promenade. And I can easily drop forward and back or the balance, depending on how the dancers are going. I purposely put those in there because They don't change the figure. They flow nice when it's done. And if I do need to build in a little bit of fudge factor, I can. It allows me to warm the crowd up. So I now have a singing call for my first tip, my opener. Okay. Tip 2, well, Dixie style is pretty straightforward. They're doing well. So I'm going to use a sequence again in the body of the figure. And right now, I'm not writing choreography for my pattern. I'm not writing modules. Okay. I want to use a focus movement. So what am I going to use for a focus movement? Oh, I don't know. Let's use circulates. So I need to have a singing call that's got circulates in it. So this just has an all 8 circulate, but it ties my theme that I'm going to use in my pattern. So I've written circulates at the top of my singing call. I know I'm using Dixie style. I'm carrying that through. And we follow that logic. Heads lead right. It's not a square through. There's my line, forward and back. Again, I'm building that in, right and left through. Dixie style to a wave, boys trade, all 8 circulate, Alaman left. And I can either swing my corner and promenade. In this case, I chose to swing my corner because there's lots of time for the swing. But if there is a problem, I can always drop that swing and just do the Alaman left and promenade. Okay. This gives me to the swing position at 40 beats, allowing 16 for the promenade. That takes me to 62 beats. Lots of time to play with success. Tip 3, okay, I want to do something a little bit different, but it's still simple. And I'm going to put the movement turn through. Oh, wait a minute. I got plus and advanced dancers here. Turn through is always hard for plus and advanced dancers. I don't know why, but it always seems to create a problem. New dancers never have a problem with turn through, but experienced dancers, because we don't use it. And it's not their fault. It's just we don't use it. And I also want to play with what we've been playing for. So my focus here is going to be boys start or girls start, swing through. So a right hand, or let's just say center start, swing through. But I want to keep it boys or girls, nice and simple, because I got visitors. It's an easy dance. I want everybody to have success. So I might come up with a figure like this. And of course, I say might come up with a figure because I've already planned that. Wow, what an oddball position. Okay, so heads turn through, separate around one, go forward and back, right and left through, Dixie style to a wave, boys start, swing through, chain down the line. Now here in the pattern, what I would say, chain down the line, boys step back. And it goes across, the boys step back. You go, what's that step back? And then they say girls walk straight ahead, because the boys are going to take one step back and stop. The girl's going to walk to them, and I just have girls step straight ahead, star through. And right there, we do a star through as an example. And that's why I had the boys step back. You don't have to say it, the dancers would adjust, but if you call the promenade from there, they do that slight veer right and copy it in. Notice it's a little bit different, and they've got lots of time. There's 44 beats there. If they do the star through, they're going to end up with those boys side by side, and that wheel is uncomfortable to do to stop at home. They're going to have to promenade the full direction. So it gives them time to do that, but it's not difficult. It's just different. Boys step back, girls walk straight across the square. Wow, that's not difficult. Anybody can do that, but it feels different. The hard part of that is heads turn through and separate. Everything else is exactly as you want. The Dixie style is in the meat, not a problem. If I'm doing this, my next tip is going to be my workshop tip. Now, the third tip, you say the third tip is the workshop on your class, that's fine. But I'm making it the fourth tip is going to be my workshop type tip, because I wanted my first tip to be an opener. So my workshop, I'm looking at Dixie style as my theme. So I want to use a couple of Dixie styles in this. And, I don't know, what are we going to use? Let's use cross run and cross fold on this. So let's paste this figure in here. Okay. And I've made this note. Heads, Dixie style to an ocean wave, centers, cross, run, extend. Notice there's not a lot of side movement here because I'm doing a slightly different Dixie style, but I'm getting it normalized. That's that head star through, pass through, make a wave. That's the ending position. This is the ending position for a promenade. It goes right into the promenade. Look, you can't stop there at home if you say promenade, especially if that boy is walking forward. And the flow of it, Dixie style to wave, boys cross run, extend, swing through, spin the top, right and left through. Girls circulate, boys trade. Notice the use of the whole square into the promenade. Again, not difficult, just a little bit different. I know that the dancers may struggle a little bit. And if they do, I can always change that opener, heads Dixie style boys cross run, to heads star through, pass through, do si do, make a wave. I've got lots of room to change it because I know that fixed point. So I can identify my choreography that's different, fits with the dancers, but not difficult. I want maximum success. Tip 5 is the tip after the feature workshop. Like I said, I like to do 10 tips during an evening. So tip 5, I want to use Dixie style, but I want it as a relaxation tool this time. I might set this up with a promenade to start. You know, it's a relaxation. So this one I might just do intentionally as a heads promenade, and it ends with a promenade. So this is one of those promenade, 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 promenade. The choice of music here is more of interest than the choreography because it's a relaxation. And the other reason I'm doing it is because this club, what they do is they have their lunch break. They have a half-hour lunch break right in the middle of the evening where they make their announcements and all that. So I know half the floor of the club is going to be in the kitchen, making stuff up in the kitchen or setting up the tables if it's in another room, that kind of stuff. So I have a very simple piece of choreography that's going to work. Heads promenade, square through 4, square through 3, trade by. You probably recognize that as a chicken plucker and getting out of a chicken plucker. And then after that is just the box standard ending, slide through, reverse flutter, Dixie style to a wave, boys turn back, and promenade. Again, no swing. It's a 46 beats of music that's nice and simple to do. It's a very quick and lively piece of music that's going to pick up the floor and lead me into the break. And that takes care of my first hour of dancing. And for me, I like to do a 4-minute patter, a 4-minute singing call, a 4-minute break, 12 minutes per tip, 5 tips per hours. And at this point, it gives me a half-hour break and away we go. So where are we here? So the rest of the evening, let's go back here. There we go. So I'm not going to walk you through every tip of the evening. But essentially, the rest of the evening is pretty much just solid, fun program dancing. I probably won't have any more promenade starts because I've already done the promenade start with tip 5. I probably won't do anything. I know if I'm at the end, if I'm going to do 2 singing calls, I've got one already prepared. I am going to use Dixie style in my pattern, but you notice a couple of these things, they don't have Dixie style in them. I'll use the Dixie style from a standard thing in my pattern because that's my evening theme. But each one of these tips has a movement focus. I've structured that into my singing calls. And like I said, for the ending, I've got a ballad song, which is Ferry Cross the Mersey. If I do a second singing call, which is quite possible at these big event type dances, which this one would be, the last song of the evening is going to be a feel-good, pick-up, relaxing song that the dancers can take away with them, something like Whispering Pines or Turn Out the Lights, or in my case, I like using I'm Leaving on a Jet Plane as a final song. It's a beautiful song. Everybody knows it, and they all sing along with it. Okay. It's a good, solid, smooth dance for the evening. It's different. It's not difficult. It's a program that's going to cater to all dancers, all the programs, all the restrictions. And even though I've got advanced dancers there and plus dancers there and a full mainstream group and my class, they can all dance this program. I'm not using any of the material that any dancer is not able to dance. Now, while I appreciate, and it's a fact, each club, each caller that is out there is going to do these things a little bit differently to suit all the considerations applicable to each individual situation. As Bob Elling was saying earlier, in his area, the only way you're going to get the advanced dancers to come and support a basic dance is if you do what I call star tips, but you do a feature tip for the advanced or you do a feature tip for the plus and you do that. That's the only way they're going to come to the dance. They love it. It's built into their program. If that's what works in your area, do what works in your area. The idea is to give everybody a good time. And if that's the way they like it, do it. The other thing is knowing the considerations allows you the principles of programming, pre-writing, preparing, practicing, and performing a polished presentation. Okay. I've now got all my singing calls structured. I can now go back and I can write, if I'm a modular caller, I can write modules that are going to suit that based on what my theme is. I've got Dixie style and I want to use some circulates. I've got Dixie style, I want to use a center swing through. I've got Dixie style and I want to play with cross run and cross fold. I can develop modules that will either have a Dixie style or a cross run or a cross fold in my pattern so that I can put that up every tip, bang, it's there. And that whole evening is going to flow one to the next. And that takes us back to the session that we had previously on programming. Now, many callers can do these steps seemingly on the fly. Oh, I don't write these programs. Oh, I don't program my evenings. I just do it on ad hoc. The reason they can get away with that is because after many years of experience, they make it look ad hoc. They know what their songs are. They know how to sight call. They know how to mental image call. They know what their music does. They know how to program. They do all this. It's not on the fly and it's not ad hoc. It's just experience. And that will come to everybody. Your programming time will take a lot less time because you know, okay? But trust me on this. It's not ad hoc. It's something well worth doing, and your dancers are going to thank you for doing it. So very quickly to recap, understand your singing call structure, plan your movements and where to use them in the figure. Where you put that movement, your feature movement, has a specific reason. Is it at the beginning? Is it in the body? Is it at the end? So if it's at the beginning, you want to use it at the beginning, but then you want to set up to normalize quickly. You want to make sure they're comfortable doing the movement, but you set up, Dixie style to an ocean wave. Great. Well, what's this? Heads, Dixie style to an ocean wave. That's a different start. Boys, cross, fold, extend. I'm now normalized into something that's familiar. If I put it in the body, it's because they have a good solid use and it's clear, it's easy to understand, and it's going to lead me to my get out that's going to get them home. If I put it at the end, if the movement is new or it's not all that clearly understood, I want to work it. I want to put that movement at the end or as close to the end as possible that's going to lead me to success. So 1 or 2 movements away at the most. That way, even if they do fudge it, they're a star through and swing or a pass through and swing away, they can correct quickly and get home without a panic and still feel good about themselves because they get that full tagline response. Okay. Finally, don't open with heads promenade or side square through all the time. Mix it and match it. There's nothing wrong with a heads promenade as a start. There's nothing wrong with a head square through at the start, but not every single tip. Okay, they're good openers, but try to modify your openers so that they get the full use of the floor and they use both the left and the right quadrants. Okay, the idea is to work the dancers across the grid, up and down the grid, and around the outside. And if you can get the dancers doing that, the dancers are going to feel like they've really achieved something. Even if you're using the simplest choreography, moving around the floor and seeing different faces with a smile on has a massive effect and a much better effect than doing head square through. You're working with those four dancers in the corner all night long. You're doing really, really tricky choreography, but you never leave that box. Okay, working around goes. If you're doing something like this, you noticed in some of the stuff, I built fudge factors, and I call them flow breaks, into the tip for new movement use. So if I've got a new movement, a Dixie style motion wave, it's a new movement balance. Okay, they may not need it, but that gives me that little flow break, allows them to establish. If I do Dixie style to a wave and I have the boys running, that takes me to line, I'll do a lines up to the middle and back, or I'll set that lines up to the middle and back to set up the Dixie style. I'll build in that fudge factor, because if I don't need it, I can always drop it and add something on the end. If I do need it, it's there. And it allows me to give time at the beginning or time at the end, depending on how the dancer is doing, and still give them that full 16 beats of that song and the tagline. And number 5, you've got to recognize your considerations when you're programming. And all those considerations we talked about, what's the movement restrictions, what's the theme, what's the dancer capability, and 100 other things. What's the acoustics in the hall? Bob's, is the power gone out? What's happening here? The more that you know in advance, the easier it is to prepare and plan for success. And this is just one more thing to know in advance. If you've got your theme, you can write your singing calls. If you've got a singing call, it's easy to identify a movement, and then it's easy to write your pattern. If you're a modular caller and you write your pattern, or even if you don't, you can focus sight calling and say, right, I want to use a lot of circulates in this tip, and I've got to put a Dixie style. I can do a Dixie style. I can do circulates from left-hand waves. I can sort it out and do circulates from right-hand waves and couples and things. It allows you that capability to focus what you want to do each and every tip, because you know your singing calls work, you know that's going to be good flow, you know it's themed, and you're all set. So plan your work your plan. And as I said last week, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, any questions? That was very fast and furious, but that's the tie. Let's see if I can get out of this here. Mark, I'll start with you. Where's the stop share? Stop share, there it is. Good. Mark, were there any questions? No? Okay, well,
Nope.
Like I said, that was an awful lot of material, and it was very quickly, but all of that is in the handout. Hal Barnes has a handout, I think it's about 30 pages or so, about writing singing calls, which takes you through writing a singing call step by step. We've done sessions like that before, but that'll be in the notes, and the presentation will be in the notes, as well as all that choreography that I showed up there. So you can play with it. Let's open the floor up. Anyone have any questions? Daryl, is that a blur or is that your hand up? I just saw a blur on your screen.
No, I probably bumped something. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Gene, were you saying something?
Nope. I'm just, the only thing I'd like to say is that was a terrific presentation. Thank you very much. Thought it very in-depth. And I discovered from watching that I use a lot of what you had said. And I also discovered that there's some of what you said that I need to start using. So that's good.
Like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with starting a tip with head square through.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with starting a tip heads promenade. Just not every tip. And I've done it. I've gone back and actually looked at some of the programs, and I realized in my early days, I would do, well, at that time we were doing 15 tips an evening. It was, oh, I did 13 of those 15 tips started with promenade.
Yeah.
Whoops. And I slowly learned. We've all done it. And there's nothing wrong with calling a promenade, just not every time. There's nothing wrong with head square through, just not every time. And if you're not comfortable, you start with your fixed points. So if you're not comfortable starting heads, or if you do head square through all the time, and you're only comfortable setting up for corner boxes, start with side square through. It's just that little bit different. It's not going to change anything, but it's going to work, and it's going to feel good for your floor. And the beauty of writing singing calls like this is they're modular, they're prepared, you move your checkers, you see where they end up, you see how long it takes, and now you've got a routine that the singing call itself, even if you don't do it in your pattern, the singing call in itself is going to bring that full feel of the dance. It's going to feel different, but not difficult, and it's going to bring those smiles because they're interacting with everybody. That's the social reward of a patter call, is the singing call.
Totally agree.
Well, this is a first. No questions or comments. Has anybody else had experiences? I know we talked with Bob early. He was talking about his area. The only way to get dancers to come in and support them is if you cater to those tips. So you might do, 2 A1 and 2+ tips in a big evening dance in order to get them to come. That way they'll enjoy the dance. Your new dancers may not be able to dance, but they accept that because they like that social factor of interacting with everybody. That's a consideration. And if that's the way your clubs dance in your area, you have to honor that consideration, because we're here not for us. We're here for the dancers. Yes, Keith.
Your sort of a focal move, do you at the beginning usually leave them near the end before and then thinking of getting out?
When I'm introducing a move, for instance, if I was doing I don't know, let's say I'm doing spin the top. I've just taught spin the top this night. Okay, I would not start with heads spin the top. I would probably do something like heads star through, pass through, square through 3, trade by. I'm in my corner box rather than do a head square through because now I've interacted with a square. And then I'd have this at the end, swing through, spin the top, slide through. I'm back in my corner box, swing your corner and promenade, or box the nap promenade, or box that right and left grand promenade halfway. Something like that. I'd put it near the ending of the tip if it's new. If I'm doing a dance by definition or introducing an extended variation at the start, I'll put it at the end or very close to the end so that the dancers can have the feel of success and get to the reward. And that's in both the patter and the singing call. I'll put it there at near the end of the patter because I know I'm going to end with something like a pass through right and left grand. They can pick it up very quickly, or a promenade. And I use promenades in my patter. I don't always do at home because they need to get that. However, if they know it and they're comfortable, I'll move it a little further forward into the body. So I might use the spin the top, heads lead to the right, circle to a line, everybody. Or sorry, right and left through and half sachet. Pass the ocean, spin the top. Okay, I didn't start with a swing through, but it's still the same spin the top, right and left through and so on and so forth. It's in the body of the material because I know they're comfortable with spin the top. I'm just getting there a little different. And then when they're really comfortable, I might do heads up to the middle, do a do-si-do, make a wave, spin the top, spin it again, extend, separate, whatever. That's how I judge, is based on the dancer's ability and comfort level, where I'm going to put it in the structure of the call. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So if you are sort of not in your club, but you got invited, you want to know whether they are confident about that move, you normally start at the end.
Yes.
I mean,
if let's say I come to New Zealand and I'm coming to your club and you ask me to call.
Yeah.
I've never called you for your dancers before. So I'm going to call and you say, well, we did spin the top last week. We've been looking at that. Do something with spin the top. Sure, no problem. I've never called to your dancers before. They've never heard me call. So I'm going to put spin the top because you've asked me to, but I'm going to put it at the end, and I would probably end in my patter, spin the top, slide through to the corner, a la man left, right at the end because it's there. And if they don't get it or they lose me, they're at an a la man left. They know where home is, or they're going to find their partner quickly. And my singing call would probably be a standard heads square through 4, do-si-do. I put that in there, make a wave, swing through, spin the top, right and left through, square through 3. So it's comfortable in the pattern. That way they get to know me. And as we move up, I would progress. That's how I would approach it.
Okay.
Anybody else approach that differently?
Thank you.
No? Excellent question.
I would probably try and use a spin the top to a girl's turn back promenade, which is even simpler than the slide through.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you do that, however, I wouldn't know if the scenario I got was, are they used to doing a spin the top from a tidal wave? You know, and if they are, absolutely fantastic. Get them into that right and left through half sachet, go up to the middle, do a do-si-do, spin the top, boom, girls turn back and promenade. Lovely. Or however you end up with that. You know, it's a beautiful, and that's a really nice one because it's a surprise. The dancers aren't used to doing a spin the top, and it takes you right into that promenade position. So if you write your singing call to set that up, your case, excellent idea. And again, the spin the top's not difficult. They're used to it. It's just that little bit different that adds that flair that gives them the wow factor.
Yeah, from a lead right box, there's, you know, that's so that everybody knows where you're going to start. Past the ocean, spin the top, girls turn back promenade. You've got a nice, short, easy get out for your hoe down. And it's a nice one to use in the song as well.
So heads lead right, this is your setup, and you can set that up in a number of different ways.
You'd get to that at the end of your song if you're doing it in your
You know.
singing call, but yeah.
Like if we were setting this up as a singing call, let's just do let's take it. Edge promenade. We're gonna do one of these promenades. Lead right. Heads lead right. Through 3. Trade by. There's my lead to the right box.
Mel, are you
Oh.
trying to share because you're not?
Oh, isn't that not sharing anymore? Sorry. How's that?
That's better.
Okay. Past the ocean. Where'd you go from here, Alan? It was a spin the top, correct?
Spin the top, yes.
Now, see that spin the top? That's got the boys casting 3 and the girls moving up. Just a little bit different, not difficult. They're comfortable with it.
I would say that's the more normal position myself.
Well, usually you get a swing through spin the top.
Well, no.
I'm just
Yeah,
speaking from my own experience. Normally what you get is swing through, spin the top, boys move up and a right and left through. That becomes everybody's standard pat. What I love about this is it's not standard. Okay. And from here, you could do all sorts of different things. There's the spin the top. There's your corner. You could do an extend. Depending on how they're doing, you can add all sorts of filler.
Well,
There's a swing with a right-hand lady progression. Again, different, but not difficult. It's a beautiful little ending that allows you that lead to the right box, takes you there. And in your patter call, we undo that. Guess what position you're in right there? Swing through, spin the top, right and left grand. And you're a little bit less than half. So the dancers know the right and left grand. They may not have done that spin the top. It just caught them slightly off guard. We're doing it from a tidal wave, and we're having the boys go 3 and the girls move up. But it's right into the right and left grand. They've caught that very quickly. They're there, and you've got the promenade. Even if a square did break down or have trouble, they've got 8 beats of music here to get back home quickly. It's a beautiful little routine. It's a beautiful ending from a lead to the right box, and it's a perfect get out from a lead to the right box. And you see how he put that right at the end key? Exactly that. So if I was teaching spin the top, that's where I would put this, near the end. And then once I've got spin the top, I would probably be using this quite frequently. In fact, I will probably now be using this quite frequently. Thank you, Alan.
you can work up to it because you can do swing through from the same position and the girls turn back promenade. You can do swing through and then you turn through Alaman left. And then you just add the past the ocean, you can then use your spin the top.
Everybody see that? No? Okay. We'll do an undo here. Okay, so from here, there's your lead to the right box. What he's saying is build up to it. So you got swing through. There's the right and left grand. You can do swing through, turn through. There's an Alaman left. You can do, and instead of, once you've done that, lead up, then you can add on the next step, which is you're in this lead to the right box, past the ocean. Does exactly the same as swing through. There's the right and left grand, there's the turn through. It's a progression introducing that movement, but by doing the swing through, turn through Alaman left, swing through into a right and left grand, now past the ocean, which they've done, spin the top, which they've done. we're ending it with something that's very familiar to them, the right and left grand or the turn through Alaman left. So there's that tie from what they know to what's new, just a little bit different, but it's still comfortable to them, and it flows and gives that little bit of, as I loved, and I stole this from Daryl, and I've been using it ever since, different, not difficult. A little bit different, not difficult.
One of your singing core figures, Mel, had the them finishing at home, boy facing right and left grand direction. Instead of the swing, a courtesy turn there is also quite a nice option.
Yep.
I can't remember which singing core figure it was you had. It was about the fourth or fifth figure, I think you did. It just gives you another way of finishing your singing core figure without doing the swing, or do a courtesy turn into the promenade.
Did I do a swing?
I can't remember what you did. I don't think you did, but you finished basically in home position. That was the clue. You said, "Oh, they're not gonna stop at home here." I think was your comment at the time. Yeah.
Could have been this one. Let's have a look. That the one?
That's the one. Yeah. So there, I would use a courtesy turn. Take the lady, courtesy turn promenade, as a variety, as opposed to, you can swing, you can do a right and left grand, or you
Yeah.
can,
The only problem with that is that after the all eight circulate, we were here. There's a circulate. We're coming off an Alaman left, and that had the right hand. But you're absolutely correct. If you've got the ability for the courtesy turn, like coming off a turn through, swing through, turn through, you can courtesy turn your corner, take your promenade, or you can do a chain down the line, take your corner promenade. A courtesy turn is an excellent movement, or anything with a courtesy turn is an excellent movement to go right into that promenade. You don't have to always do a swing. You know, we get swing through, turn through. Great. If you set that up with the ladies moving one position earlier in your choreography, swing through, turn through, reach forward, courtesy turn, and promenade. It's the same as move up and boys turn back, but it feels different just because you're doing that courtesy turn.
And if you have a left hand available and happen to be very close to home, do passo is a wonderful call as well.
yes.
Absolutely. And it's a great one for your pattern. Like in that one, if you know, you could have done easily we were in the left-hand box, or sorry, the left-hand wave, step through, turn around, pass through, do passo. Wow.
I have a veto on that, because the do passo probably only works if you have the boys on the inside facing counterclockwise. Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
Hang on.
The boys got to be facing counterclockwise and the girls clockwise.
You mean like that?
Yes.
That's where we would be.
Like the other one we had would not work. The one we had before.
This is that figure that we had before. What I'm saying is, instead of doing when we did the all eight circulate, okay, to do a left turn through in a do passo, absolutely wrong. But if you did a step through, turn back, you could do a, oh, I see what you're saying. If I did a pass through here, boys are on the inside. Yes. But you could easily do a left pass through to a do passo, would work well.
No, I'd rather take a normal pass through for the weaving action.
Yeah, and then do a do passo.
The other thing I use too, Mel, is talking about your Dixie style theme. Where you're in a left-handed wave, there's no reason why you can't turn them left and roll promenade rather than
Absolutely.
swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And absolutely, this is what I'm saying. You want to set your endings up. And you can do that when you're writing your choreography for your singing call so that not everything ends in a swing. And if you can do a left arm turn, a courtesy turn, a left swing through, roll promenade, any of those kinds of things that go where you've got that turning action, or even boys turn back or girls turn back into that promenade off your swing, it's the rolling action. And it's an outward rolling action instead of an inward rolling action. And it is smooth. It's comfortable, and it's not difficult. It just feels very different because the boy's looking one way and he's focused on, okay, what's ahead of me? Turn around. Oh, there's my corner. Where did she come from? Even though he had her left hand. It's a nuance that just goes, wow. And the dancers love it. You'll see it on their faces.
Taking that setup, which is right now there, you don't even have to do a whole do paso. You can even have a little gimmick in there. Just say, do the last part of a do paso and keep the girl promenade.
Yeah. Which, of course, we all know is a courtesy turn, unless you've been taught that do paso ends in allemandar. And a lot, believe it or not, although we all know that's not true, there are a lot of callers out there that have been calling a long time that still didn't know that do paso ends with a courtesy turn. Allemandar is a directional prompt that preempts that courtesy turn.
Well, even it would work for them. So if they even turn by the left and they just say, keep the girl in promenade, it would work.
Yep. And that's the general idea. Oh, it looks like we got something in the chat here. There's 2 new chat comments. No, just saying goodbye. So, there's a lot of material that you can play with. Oops. So when you look at these kinds of things, let's just say, for instance, we're doing our workshops, or we want to start looking at, we want to look at that. Let's say we wanted to end with the allemandar. So let's try something here. Let's reset this and go. So heads, touch, and step through. Okay. Oh, didn't want to do that. Reset. The reason I'm doing it this way is because for some reason, Caminations does not recognize that the permit says you made the changes, doesn't recognize heads pass through and separate because the pass through rule has them going all the way out and facing out. It doesn't recognize separate from there. So we'll go from here, separate around 1 to a line. Centers separate around 1 to a line. There we go. Okay, let's do a forward, up, and back for timing, I guess. Back, there's my timing. It's now I breathe out. Pass through, wheel and deal. So I've now set this up with the girls on the inside, and let's say on your own, on a single file Dixie style or on your own track Dixie style, depending on how you call it. We're doing an extended variation here. So we can call it there. What do I want to do from here? Let's do the boys start. Circulate 1 and 1/2. Oh, what position are we in here?
Do paso almost.
Perfect position for a do paso. No, sorry, I've got them
They're
crossed.
crossed.
I've got them crossed. Okay, so am I going to fix it? Okay, let's just undo that, undo that, undo that. Dixie style to a wave.
If you do a head square through 3 and then start follow with center separate around 1 to a line, it probably should work.
if you spin the top twice, Mel, you'll switch the wave. You'll give yourself.
Yeah. I needed to do something there. Undo. Oh. That's not going to do it. We'll just do this for the sake of argument for the moment here. No, we won't do that. Undo that. That's pointer. Sorry, what did you say, Alan?
It's, you do a left, spin the top twice without changing anything. Go back.
Yeah,
to
I'm just thinking about it in a singing call here.
Oh, you're trying to stay in a singing call, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you substituted heads touch a quarter to send a step through with a square through 3,
Yeah.
it would have worked.
Mm.
Edge. Square through 3 and separate around 1, 2 line. There we go. Feel. File. Dixie style. Start through. Okay, so I'm on the opposite side. I got 38 beats of music. Now I could do all sorts of different things here. I could do a do passo, end with a courtesy turn and promenade. I could do a do passo, end to an allemandar, slip the clutch. You know, take that allemandar back home, slip the clutch. There's my 64 beats for the allemand left. I can also do something like girls walk straight ahead, boys dodge in. There's my right-hand lady. I'm doing a right-hand lady progression. I can do all sorts of things just to be quirky. It's not hard to say girls go straight ahead. You know, girls walk straight ahead. It feels different. It's not hard. And there's a right-hand lady progression. Setting these things up are very, very easy for you to do as a caller. You could have done heads promenade halfway, pass through and separate round 1. But we want to get rid of that promenade. So the square through 3 is an excellent option. Or as Alan said, spin the top twice. That will fix that problem as well. Let's try something different. Reset. Let's try this one. It's not going to do anything. Reset page. So that says 50. It's actually, you know, because but you've got concurrent activity going on in a couple of these things. No, you don't. So that's a bit long, but there's no promenade. That can easily tighten up. But we're starting with a heads half sachet, touch a quarter, boy runs, centers pass through. We're in a corner box. Everything else is normal, but we've got this cast off 3/4, girls face in. It feels very different. There's my corner box. Swing through, boys run. Bend the line, right and left through. Everything is absolutely normal up to there. Dixie style, everything is comfortable, but now we do boys. The right hand, cast off 3/4, girls face in. That feels different. Extend, we're back to normal. Hinge and run, bang, a quick snappy movement. If you didn't want to do that, you could do that extend into a swing. You could do that extend or just have, you know, all sorts of different things. And it doesn't have to be weird or wonderful, like, you know, these walk and dodges from Alamandar type funky things that you can directionally prompt. The left swing through 1.5. And then you could have from here, everybody fold. There's your corner, just a bit different, or you're in that position for that Alaman left, or as Alan said, if you wanted to do it, that's the left swing through 1.5. You could just finish it like a courtesy turn, or the boys turn back and promenade. All sorts of different options are available for you.
Or if you want the corner progression, you could call and extend Alaman left and come back and swing and promenade.
Absolutely. Well, you can't call an extend and do it. You got to call a step through. And that, but that's just because, sorry, you can call an extend Alaman left. Your dancers would do it. Combinations won't do it. Yeah. But absolutely. Does everybody see that? If I called extend, there's your corner progression, 48 beats, promenade. And because he's moving forward, this is the one place where if you've got advanced dancers, they might have a tendency of stopping right there because we don't want to promenade. So you would just say, Alaman left, come back in full promenade and start your singing. Just leave yourself time to do it.
Mel, just to give you an idea for, say, the newer dancers, the newer callers who are using, say, their modules.
Yep.
If you have a normal, say, get to the corner box in the left-hand quadrant, and you do the swing through, girls circulate, boys trade, boys run, bend the line. So they're using their modules. But to just give you an alternate out, bend the line and a right and left through, if you'd like to do that, I'll
Where do you want them?
say corner box and do
Okay.
do one of their traditional modules, swing through, girls circulate, boys trade, boys run, bend the line.
That's girls circulate, boys trade. I'm having trouble typing today. I don't know why. Okay, so we've gone from a corner box to a partner line. That's
And a right and
one
left.
of your foundation modules.
Yeah. So they're really not, they're building using their foundation module, right and left through. The centers pass through.
Yep.
And the centers run.
Boy, boy, girl, girl. Feels different.
New centers slide through and everybody swing. Your corner. Just gives you a different way of finishing that's slightly different.
And that's a corner progression. And that's what would happen. You don't have to stop there, but that's another one that you would probably prompt them to go all the way home.
Yeah, if you would have the heads to a right and left through and the sides then do
Yes,
promenade
you're right.
halfway while the others go right and left through and then do the routine, then you would have full promenade or 3/4 promenade. But you got to watch for the timing then.
Yes. So sometimes it can be quite simple to give yourself something slightly different.
On the other hand, if you start a right and left grind on there instead of a swing, it'll bring them to the other side and they have a promenade, which is not that long, and maybe that works out.
Yeah, might too. It would actually be a wrong way grand, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it would work as well.
You could also do, hey, guess what hand's free? Take her by the left, turn her in promenade. For the outsides, it's the boys turning around. For the centers, it's a courtesy turn. And because they're there in this top quadrant, top right-hand quadrant, it will time out. All
Yeah.
you have to do is just prompt that here.
Right.
That same little get out I use quite often without
Mhm.
the centers slide through, but just having the centers pass through, because it gives them a surprise, oh, where's my corner? But particularly
Absolutely.
for those in the center of the line. Yeah. It's just a nice occasional difference. Yeah.
There's another one of those heads.
Yeah, you could even make a gimmick out of it, like just saying just the ends do an element left while the centers you turn back and then walk in the right, left, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is one of the problems with terminations right now. I've sent them an email, but it doesn't do heads pass through and separate. Because on a heads pass through, they end up here. And the definition is they're separating from the static square facing in or in the center position. Then, you know,
Yes, but now it will do heads separate from a squared set.
yes,
Well,
I know.
that's
Like I
Mel.
said,
Before.
that was one of the fixes, but it's created this issue. You can't do
Mel.
heads pass through and separate anymore. Yes.
Mel, if you say head separate and semicolon around one good line.
Yes, from a static square. Oh, you mean from here?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
No,
take that because-
no, just say separate, because only the facing out people can do. And semicolon.
everybody can separate there. Your sides can still separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe you say before, when you say head pass through, take that away.
Well, see, that's what it does. It gets the separate, which is here. Now it's got nowhere to twig on the
Oh,
line,
okay.
because separate ends should end up with them face to face, but it's depending on the next call. It's waiting. That's a computer glitch. It's not
Can you go back to after four lady chain 3/4 and then say head pass through separate?
Yeah.
And semicolon. No.
That's not the heads anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
not head. Is that not head?
Mm.
That is head position.
After
Yeah, but
after the
if I do
semicolon,
heads-
it didn't specify heads.
good point. Never thought of that. Ladies chain 3/4. Heads pass through. Out faces. Separate. Everybody's leaders here. Undo. Heads touch. Centers. Step. quarter tag. Okay, you can have the girls center start. Hinge. You go wrong way promenade or promenade. Yeah, there's lots of things that you can set those up.
You can do heads pass through and separate around one, come into the middle.
Yeah, it just like I said, it's a glitch. It used to do heads pass through separate round one to a line, but when he fixed that so that you could do heads separate around one to a line, for some reason it's created that little glitch in there because it's taken the heads pass through on the definition to completely into the opposite head spot on the square footprint, and on the head separate, it's programmed to do a head separate from a static square, which means everybody's facing in.
You can't do a step back.
Oh, you probably could, but it really doesn't matter what you can and can't. All we're doing at this point is just typing fixes. There's probably a number of different ways to fix it so the computer will do it, but that's not what you want to call. That's why sometimes you'll see when I have a program, I might have AC-doocy, I might put girls circulate, boys straight in brackets, so I know what it is I'm calling, or walk and dodge, girls step in, or boys step back will be in brackets, girls walk straight forward, star through and promenade. That's just fixes for the choreography if you want to copy and paste it into something. I just want to correct.
In that last routine when you had the wheel and deal, and afterwards the Dixie style to Ocean Wave, was that for the center four or was it on a double track?
Double track, head square through. I'm just correcting that first one. What do we have? That was the very first one was, instead of a heads pass through, it was head square through three, separate around one to a line, pass through, wheel and deal.
You got the four ladies chain at the beginning, 3/4.
No, the first one.
Oh.
The one that we changed the heads pass through, separate around one. I think that was it. Yeah, because I had the girls walk straight ahead, boys dodge in, and they were crossed. So let's just have a look at that. There we go. That's through. Deal. And then you can finish it up with how you want.
You weren't sharing anything.
No, I know. I'm just fixing it with the. So. I was just fixing it. I'm putting this choreography down in the handout. So. So does anybody else have any any more comments, anything they want to talk about, or any questions, comments, points on the actual presentation?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to that because you reminded me of what I should be doing for the next week when it comes to I've got some new beginners and there are some A1 DVD classes I should do. And when you said that you wouldn't want to start, for instance, a singing call with spin the top for those who've just learned it, I wouldn't mind that. And I prefer to use singing calls that are pre-prepared and so on. But I also know that when it comes to those who have just learned a call or something, that you sometimes have to have a plan B and plan A and plan C. And while I do prepare my get outs for a singing call or for something, I'm awful in preparing get-ins, which I think is damn good to do if you're gonna do a singing call. I mean, there's a lot of some easy Dixie Granter style get-ins you can do to a singing call. Do something when they're there, and then time out the get out as you want it as well.
Absolutely. One of the best get-ins for the Dixie style is Dixie style to a wave, boys cross, fold, extend. You're in that right-hand box ocean wave, which has a lot of things.
Dixie style to ocean wave, boys cross, run, extend.
Yeah. Heads Dixie style to a wave, boys cross, run, extend. You're in that right-hand box ocean wave.
But just but really write down all those quick, easy get-ins from where you can do something else in all calls is something I tend to forget.
I'll be right with you, Kevin. But no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Guga. It is one of the failings that we have a lot. There are some wonderful choreographic masters out there, and I'm as guilty as this as everybody else. We tend to fall back on what is our comfort zone. And this is why I'm saying, start with the fixed points that you are comfortable with. For me, corner box, partner line, right-hand box out of sequence, those are the first basic 3 fixed points that most callers learn to start recognizing squares from. So write get-ins that take you to those fixed points and create a list of them. With regard to your first part, would I call, I'm teaching a class, I'm introducing spin the top. This is the first night they've done it. I know when I learned, and I learned to dance in Germany. I was taught how to dance in Germany. I learned how to dance in high school, but that wasn't square dancing, in my opinion. I was taught in Germany, head spin the top, follow, spin the top, slide through, back away, side spin the top, slide through, back away. That's where you learned it first, was from a static square, 2 couples to see the movement, or in a Sicilian circle type formation. How it's taught in Europe, how it's taught in New Zealand, how it's taught in Australia, how it's taught in Canada and North America is very, very different. I know in Europe, in places, they do a lot more. This is what the definition is. It's one couple facing another couple. Well, heads are facing couples, sides are facing couples. Let's do it from there. It's not always done that way. So again, that's one of the considerations. That's your dancer capabilities, how the dancers learn and how you do it. And if your dancers are comfortable, but I can pretty much guarantee you that if you went to, let's just say, I don't know, Iowa, and you started your first tip that you were there with head spin the top,
Guess what I got?
the floor would break down. And those are things. And this is what I'm saying. If it's new or you're new, I would not put it as the first thing. But if your dancers are used to doing that in your own club, by all means do it.
Finally, Dad.
I'm gonna mute. Did that answer your question, Guga? Yeah. Kevin.
He could still use it in the center, but just use that old idea of pass the ocean, spin the top, turn through, and that's a square through 3 equivalent. So it's sort of That's
Uh,
working. If he wants to work in the centre first, that would be a bit more normal than going straight into a spin the top.
I would need a separate as well.
Yeah. But I mean, if you really wanted to get into that, you could set it up so that you've got your facing lines, or sorry, get into the facing lines, say follow a cast off 3/4, where you've got the lady coming into the center of the line. So you got your center, so everybody's half sashayed, but then you can cast off 3/4 centers Dixie style to an ocean wave, and that's going to feel complete. It's a normal Dixie style, but getting there feels so different that it's going to feel weird. And there's all sorts of things. Let's go to Kevin. He's been waiting patiently with his hand up for a while now.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have, even if you'd have called on me, I wouldn't have wanted to sort of disturb that discussion because mine's completely different. I was next weekend. You turned me off. Next weekend, I'm actually calling a friendship dance. So basically, it's for all of the new SSD dancers in the area. And I was actually, while you were talking about other things, I was reviewing my program of basically the singing calls I've got for that. And I started like going through and saying, oh, I can remove that swing and promenade. I can remove that swing and promenade. But then I realized that these guys are probably so used to, in their very limited experience, having a swing and promenade, as in the swing before the promenade, that every time I did something unusual for them would almost feel a little bit intimidating and scary for them. So again, I just wanted to make the comment really that one of the considerations I've got is that these are very inexperienced dancers, and too much variation for them could like overwhelm them. So I sort of was going through thinking, I could change that, but I realized I want to make a few differences so they get a bit of experience, but it still needs to feel as comfortable and as almost familiar to them as they've been getting in their classes at the various clubs around. So I just wanted to make that comment really, that, you have to consider who the audience is and be aware of, where you can add variation for that pizzazz, but where adding that variation could actually destabilize their confidence as well.
Absolutely. And like I said, if you've got very new dancers and you're introducing material, for me, I like to put it near the end to maximize success. But that's also a judgment call at you as a caller. If you've got different singing calls prepared and it's different but not difficult, but achieves your aim, if your dancers are dancing it very successfully and they've done that in the pattern, there's no problem doing it where they're comfortable with it. That's a judgment call that you as a caller will have to make.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I'm obviously very comfortable to make that. I just thought I'd make the point that, there are situations where you have to be aware of how I love the concept of different, not difficult, especially when you're looking at SSD groups, newer caller dancers. Make it so they feel it's different from what they've experienced, but it still has to be sort of very achievable and familiar to them in some sort of like, subconscious level almost. So I do like that different, not difficult. That's an excellent sort of statement. Thank you.
I was just trying to think of something. Anybody else have any comments or anything they wanted to look at?
Yeah, I was going to comment on your head past the ocean, spin the top. I use a lot of head past the ocean, spin the top, slide through as a substitute for lead to the right.
Yeah.
And so that's just a comment. I love it because it's pretty much how Grand Colonel Spin starts. And I will also use heads past the ocean, spin the top to a star through, which dancers have no problem with because they're moving up to that. They don't make a wave and star through. They anticipate it and star through. And it's a great call. It's one of the more popular things that we've ever had in square dancing was the grand spin, which was a spin the top to a star through.
Absolutely. And if you're like most callers, a lot of them today, what they'll do is they do the slide through before they, or while they're teaching very, very early in the SSD program, slide throughs on the first night or the second night. I can't remember. I think it's on the first, no, second night. No, first night. But a lot of them do that so that they have that hand availability there for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at something here.
Combination is also nice for getting into a cross street box or into a corner box when having a heads promenade halfway, for example, past the ocean and the ladies trade and then spin the top and star through. Yep. Or if you start from a static square past the ocean center's trade, spin the top and slide through or star through, then you're across the street, right?
Going way back when you were doing that single file Dixie style.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is the head slide through single file Dixie style to a walk and dodge wheel around flutter wheel. Square through 4 trade by to the corner. Bingo. It's flow. I just love the flow of the whole thing together. And that is one of my favorite little things, and I've mentioned it before, is do a left touch, a quarter, walk and dodge, and wheel around into a flutter wheel. It has got a nice overall flow to a sequence. And that's kind of where I thought you were going on your whole presentation today, and I was totally wrong. But I remember when I first heard walk and dodge wheel around, I just said, oh wow. And then I called it to the dancers and was totally surprised. There was just no hesitation. Everybody did it. So then my next step, well, I like that. I've got to have it in a singing call. And then it was, well, how do I get to that left touch a quarter? Well, here in the States, you call the left square through, and you lose a lot of dancers. They're just going to feel awkward. So how do you do a left square through and not have it feel awkward? You slide through and square through 3.
Yep.
Then they feel like they started with the correct hand and they're okay. So I took all that and I built the singing call, and it was head slide through square through 3 to a left touch a quarter, walk and dodge, wheel around and flutter wheel. Then it was slide through, swing the corner promenade. It was just a no-brainer there. And depending on how good they are. But that has become a staple in mine because none of the other callers are using it. So it makes me stand out and look like, oh, Bob is good, but that wasn't hard.
Can I add that one of my nowadays advanced calls or combinations are cross trail through and wheel around?
Ouch.
Ouch.
Lovely.
But you mentioned cross trail through.
Cross trail through, people want to end up going to their corner sometimes.
My favorite sequence for cross trail through was called a bucket of worms back in the 1970s and before. And the thing was, you do a heads cross trail through, separate around 2, and you should be home in half sashayed. And then you do the whole tip, and then you do a climax at the end of the tip. And the end of the tip, the last sequence is heads cross trail through, separate around 2, while the sides cross trail through and separate around 2, while the heads cross trail through, separate around 2. While the sides do it, then the heads do it right away through, sides cross trail through, find the corner of the left. And I guarantee every time I've called that sequence, the dancers cheer when they get it right.
Yeah, that's very much along the same feeling as successfully doing running bear the first time.
Yeah.
And yet running bear, it's it's such an easy figure to do if you keep your head on, but it's just such a nuanced figure that it feels difficult without being difficult, and it just catches everybody off guard. And that's another one that's very simple, similar to it. And that's where you've got your cross trail and cross trail through. Now it's the same movement, but head two couples cross trail, you turn back and then. Well, pass through and a half sachet was a cross trail, and a cross trail through was the passing action. Because it was the through was a directional call to the next person, but somehow that all got married together. Mickey, off the top of your head, do you remember that sequence that you were talking about with the spin the top twice, or was that Alan?
That was Alan.
You mean today or in private?
Today, yeah. It's that last sequence, that full sequence that you gave. I'm just writing the sequences down so I can post them in the chat for some people.
Oh, that was Alan.
That was Alan? Okay. I've got his,
Okay.
yeah, Pass the Ocean Spin. I'm just going to share my screen. This was one of the ideas that twigged up. So from a static square, if you got that head square through 3 and separate around 1 to a line, I'm just taking this idea here, pass through. And this is what I'm saying. You can get different, but not difficult. This is one I got from Kim Hool, because he used to do this all the time when he was teaching Dixie style. But this, I've got a boy, boy, girl, girl line. I do a cast off 3/4 and then centers Dixie style. So if you do your cast off 3/4, that's there, but it flows nicely in because the girls are there. Centers Dixie style while the ends star through. Extend, swing through, circulate twice, step through or extend. There's your corner, Alaman left. And it you know, but it's one of those things, cast off 3/4 and then you're working with the outside, then suddenly you're doing a centers, doing a Dixie style. It's not difficult, but it's difficult to wrap your head around that sudden transition. I'm an end, now I'm a center. So you have to prompt it, cast off 3/4 when you're there, the very centers Dixie style, while the others, that's the prompt you have to give it. And then here's the other one with that, what Bob was saying, a nice little get into the lead to the right box. Heads past the ocean, centers spin the top, or heads spin the top, or heads past the ocean, spin the top, slide through. That's your lead to the right box. And then with Alan's get out, past the ocean, spin the top, right and left grand. It's a nice little sequence to get you to that home, that get out from the right, from the lead to the right box. So I'll just copy those and paste them in the chat so you don't have to write them all down.
And
Okay.
whenever you can call the Dixie style, you as well can just walk into a flutter wheel as well.
Yep.
Now, you bringing up the cast off 3/4 to a centers Dixie style, it kind of brings back memories of Jerry Story
Yep.
calling like a square through 2 to a centers in, cast off 3/4, centers wheel around, then everybody wheel around.
Yeah.
The first time you call it, whoa, watch out, pandemonium. But once the dancers get it, it's great.
All right, what was that sequence?
Anything with a centers in, square through 2.
Get an inverted
centers
line.
in. Yeah. Square through 2, head, centers in, cast off 3/4.
I have to slow down on my typing because the machine's not keeping up to me.
Centers wheel around. Everybody wheel around. So if you have the centers half added before they do the centers, then it'll be more normal.
And now if you really want to confuse them, now you can do your DBD.
Sometimes I forget what DBD is because I do it all the time.
That's the same thing, but the boys leading Dixie style.
Have you ever considered, from facing couples, boys lead Dixie style?
That would be a reverse Dixie style.
No, it's not. Boys lead puts them in a tandem, and Dixie style
okay.
is defined as a tandem call. So once you put somebody in the lead, they do it, and it's actually smoother than the ladies lead Dixie style because the ladies don't have to slide over.
The problem is I don't think that I know Taminations. Well, I shouldn't say I know. I don't think Taminations would do that. But part of the problem with that is the definition of Dixie style with the clarification is starts with a half sachet. And if you're starting with a half sachet, you can't do
Is
a
that
boys
part
lead.
of the definition? They've changed that? Wow.
It gets you, it's half a half sachet. Is it not?
Half of a half sachet.
Let's pull that up.
In other words, the designated dancer leads to get your tandem. If you dance at my advanced club, I don't even say single file, I just say Dixie style, because Dixie style was defined as a tandem call.
Bob is right, but it also says that if there is no tandem there, that you create one by putting the right-hand dancer in the lead with a half of a half sachet.
Right.
Yeah, which means
And
you
the
can't have a boys lead from a standard couple.
Yes, you can. Because when you say boys lead, you create a tandem.
Yeah, but then it would be a reverse sachet, which is leading body flow wise as well. It dictates into a reverse Dixie style to an ocean wave. But if you want the boys to the lead, it's easy to have a ladies chain with a half sachet, and then you can put the boys in the lead, sir.
Yeah.
That's just a standard Dixie style, boys lead Dixie style. This is the way they clarified it. And I know what you're saying, Bob, because when you did that, it used to be boys step straight ahead, turn right, half left with the girl. There's your ocean wave.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But that half a half sachet with the clarification, because that's not the issue. It's because they said if there's no tandem established, and that's at the start of the call, boys or girls lead as a prompt. It's not with an established tandem. It does establish a tandem as a directional prompt, and it's a gray area, which is why I can pretty much guarantee if they would do
really
it.
Great. Maybe I can step in here. Maybe the Dixie style kind of that weaving action, or like Dixie Grand, which alternates with the hands as well. So, but I see what Bob means. But if achieving that, it probably would be something like boys. Only the boys extend and they have an ocean wave in the center from facing lines, or only boys up to the middle, or everybody up to the middle and only the girls come back. And then on a double track, start a Dixie style using the facing couples rule, where the center, they only go with the right pull by and then a left touch a quarter with the girls. I guess that's what the idea is, what Bob is thinking about. But that would have, in accordance with the definition, would have need to be called different and takes a lot of bubbling for the action, right? But I see where he's coming from. But it would be an extent, more or less. It would be a right hand action instead of alternating the hands. And on the other hand, it's not so much a boy-girl action. It's a right and left hand.
Yeah, no, I like I said, the way you explain it, I don't think your dancers would have any problem doing it. I just and I could be completely wrong, that's something that would have to go to the dance committee and probably to the ARC to say, is this acceptable? If you give a dance prompt, because that's really where the argument lies, is in the terminology. Is this a directional prompt to establish the tandem? Yes, it could be argued it is, because you can say, put the boys in the lead, double pass through. Put the boys in the lead, single file Dixie style. There's no problem doing it either way, because that you can do it. But Dixie style has that clarification on it of if this tandem is established, and that's the only qualifier that mucks up or muddies the water a little bit. And I don't think your dancers would have a problem doing it if you explained it that way, but it's whether or not it's technically legal. I hate that terminology, but I had to use it with the parentheses. Is it technically correct? I don't know. That's a decision for somebody with a lot more experience than me to make.
Well, I'm not talking about experience, but regarding what I know from my committee and the work I do in, it's not legal.
And that's because of the wording. But it's interesting because you can say, put the boys in the lead, double pass through. You can say, put the boys in the lead, do a left double pass through. There's no problem with that because you're establishing the tandem with the directional prompt. And that's perfectly acceptable. And it's used in many examples, used in a lot of choreography. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to say, put the boys in the lead, single file Dixie style. It should work, but the way the definition is written, that's where the argument lies.
It's also
on the other hand,
bad-handedness.
Yeah, and on the other hand, if you got the boys putting in the lead, it really needs to create a tandem, right?
Yeah.
And then moving over to the right and then using the right coming back.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that I think if doing it, the boys would have to walk straight ahead, which would not be leading or creating a tandem, right?
Which is
would be a kind of a set formation.
Used to be able to do, what was it, the hinge and Dixie, hinge and flutter, which did exactly the same thing. You got girls on the outside, hinge and Dixie would take you right into that left swing through. Boys start and hinge and flutter, they just flip around and go with the opposite. So the precedent is there, but I agree with the handedness.
But on the same token, now, if from facing couples, it's called a reverse Dixie style to a wave.
Yeah.
But from facing tandem, wouldn't that be a left Dixie style to an ocean wave?
Let's have a look.
Quite often the term left something and reverse something are the same.
Yeah,
right.
But it also gives a hint of how to start.
Where the regular tandem is a right hand pull by with a left touch a quarter, so the other one's got to be a left pull by with a right hand touch a quarter.
You would think, but it doesn't work that way.
The definition isn't written that way, no, but it should
No.
be called the left Dixie style. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, from a tandem, yes, it should be.
Unfortunately, there are very few possibilities to call that.
I don't know why. Swing through, boys run, tag the line, cloverleaf, girls, left Dixie style.
Yeah. You need to have dancers who could do it as well, yeah.
But we have digressed a bit. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much for those of you that stuck around. As I said, Mark, I'm going to be sending you the corrected one with the choreography. Thanks for picking up on that. So I will, if I haven't already saved it. There we are. And okay, on the 27th of this month, I'm hoping to have Walt and Juliet in here. They're going to be talking about teaching, which is something near and dear to all of our hearts, getting back into square dancing. and just their take on teaching certain things that you can do, certain things that you, well, not that you can and can't, that you should and maybe should not do. I'm hoping that'll be a good session. I do not have anything specifically planned for next week. So as for this week, like I said, this is one that came up with discussions with Yolanda and John and a couple other callers saying, I'm in this situation, what do I do? And the essence was, if you've got to plan an evening, do your singing calls first and plan around them. You have an idea, do your singing calls, plan around them, change your openings, don't just call inside the box, and don't always end with a swing. If you follow those 4 simple rules, or 4 simple guidelines, generally you're going to have a very successful dance, and your dancers are going to have a good time because they'll get to see and interact with everybody and smile with everybody. Don't be hesitant to put your feature move, beginning, center, or end. Each one has a general purpose, and you have to take the considerations of your dancers to know how they dance, where you want to put it. And that's really all there is to it. It sounds easy, but it takes work. And guys like Bob or Guga, they've been doing this long enough that, and Mickey, they've been doing this long enough that it looks like they don't do any programming, but trust me, they've done programming. So it's in the back, the whole program's in their head. They're just picking out of the filing cabinets that is their brain.
Yes.
I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They've already done the hard work. Now they're just resting on the laurels. So, anyone else have anything to add? Any comments, queries, points? If not, I shall bid everybody a great day, great afternoon. Remember, tomorrow in North America, there's a time change. So if you attend Dan and Dawn's session, it'll be at a different time if you're not in North America. Mickey, do your clocks change tomorrow or on the 1st of April?
No, not on the 1st, I think on the last Saturday in March, as far as I know.
No, that's the weekend of the first.
Yeah.
The last Saturday or Sunday? Saturday night, Sunday
Goes
morning.
from Saturday to Sunday.
Yeah.
They're going to steal us an hour, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's the theme here. So there are going to be a couple of time changes over the next couple of weeks. So watch out for that. I will try and post the correct times, but this session is at 9 a.m. Sydney, Australia time. If you're not sure, have a good look because I did get it wrong in a couple places.
Okay, well, you said something about Don's session tomorrow. That was to this morning.
No, I said Don had a session this morning, but the time changes in North America tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock in the morning. So next week it'll be at a different time for him.
Right.
Yeah. So they're setting their clock back an hour.
Back.
All right.
Forward.
Well, thank you, everybody. Sorry.
Forward.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're going into winter. They're going into spring. I'm still upside down. We're going into winter. We're setting our clocks back, so we'll be closer together.
Right.
Or further apart. I don't know. I give up. Means I have to log on to Dawn at 1 a.m. in the morning and then here at 9 a.m. So, and Yolanda, I don't think I'm going to do any more of those 1 a.m. until 1 p.m. sessions with you. 12 hours, your brain tends to fry after a while.
Yeah. But I am picking up stuff. Bob, do you have a minute after this session for me to ask a question?
Sure, I'll Zoom you.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. You guys take care, and I'll email Mark the corrected choreography. Thanks for picking that up. Bye, all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.